Busted. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Monday, August 18th, 2025, and the Brewers winning streak has been busted. This was a very, very Milwaukee weekend for me. Some of my favorite kinds of weekends. You just don't see very many 14-game winning streaks happen in Major League Baseball. You certainly don't see them continue day after day in the way Milwaukee started off this weekend. The streak did end last night, but I want to build up the excitement and the tension all the way back from the burgers. You remember when the Brewers won their 12th straight game? People are eating burgers last week, getting vouchers, pounding onions, tomatoes, pickles, mustard, mayo, ketchup. But then the Brewers kept going, but you assume it's done. Friday, I'm watching, getting ready for the weekend, thinking to myself, good run, good run. They were playing the Reds, who were fighting with the Mets for a wild card spot. And the Reds scored 7 runs in the second inning. The Brewers were down 8-1. All right, that's that. Good run. Very, very good run. Except then the Brewers kept scoring. And they kept scoring. And this is not... They have a great pitching staff. They have a great bullpen. They have a good lineup that at moments can be really good, but best lineup in baseball? No. Best offense in baseball? No. One of their stars trio wasn't even around at all. That young guy who got paid all that money, not even around during this whole streak. But they just kept scoring. Yelich hit 2 home runs. And that was the day that they were using it. Was the Players' Weekend, and Christian Yelich was using a Bob Uecker-headed bat, like a bat that had Bob Uecker's head on it. Everyone was channeling the great, great Bob Uecker. And the Brewers come back to win. And people are beginning to think something's going on here. But it was one of those comebacks that you just dismiss and say, that's hard to imagine. You come back to the ballpark. It's Saturday. You've now won 13 in a row. You're feeling super invincible, like you're never going to lose again. You're losing again in the 9th inning, and that's it. The Brewers come back in the 9th inning and then win in 11. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, it's Saturday. It's August 16th. We have a month and a half left in the season. There's a chance we're never going to lose. And as a former team president, all I was thinking is, please lose. I don't want to be peaking right now in August. We're not going to win 45 straight games. It's sort of like a pitcher a bullpen guy. This is the number one. Side note, Coco, a bullpen guy who doesn't blow a save for the last 3 months of the season makes me despondent going into the playoffs. Because that would be an ill-timed blown save, wouldn't it? So I'm good heading into Sunday, thinking, all right, this is exciting. I'm channeling 1987 when they had that great start to the season, won 13 in a row. This is pretty cool. I want my Brewers to keep pounding the Cubs. They're heading into a huge series with the Cubs coming up starting Monday the 18th, which was tomorrow when I said this, which was yesterday. And so the Brewers are playing, they're losing, and that's going to be that until the 9th inning. And a 2-run home run by Contreras, and they take the lead in the 9th inning. It can't be. It simply cannot be. And it wasn't. The Reds tied it in the bottom of the 9th and won it in the 10th. And that was it. And just like that, oof, the winning streak is over. But let's review a couple things. Number one, this was the first game they lost in August yesterday. Number two, until yesterday, the Chicago Cubs had not gained a game on the Brewers since July 30th. Has there ever been, on the history of nothing personal, a sentence that added less value than that? Of course, no one could gain a game on the Brewers since July 30th. You know who else didn't gain a game on the Brewers since July 30th? Everybody. They hadn't lost a game. One of the most important parts that you need in order to gain a game on somebody is they've got to lose. Now, you may be saying, David, what if the Brewers had an off day and the Cubs won on that off day? Then they gain half a game. not a full game. Listen to the stat. We can manipulate anything right now to make it sound as ridiculous as you want. And believe me, the media was. It was great. I loved it. So, yes, the Cubs did come back yesterday and did gain a game on the Brewers. But the Brewers turn around and look up. And instead of on July 30th having a one-game difference with the Cubs, now, after this winning streak, which had everything from burgers to comebacks, it's now an 8-game lead. So how does it all work yesterday? And all of you Milwaukee people, because I know you're out there, you're listening. Are you upset that none of your high leverage arms were used yesterday? Do you feel as though you lost the game with not your best players? And how can you lose a game with not your best players? If I'm going to lose, let it be with my best. I love where your head's at, except not on August 17th. The job of the manager and the GM is to win a game on October 17th, not August 17th. So, 4 of the high leverage pitchers for the Brewers had pitched the first 2 games of the Red Series because the first 2 games of the Red Series were insane. You can't pitch them 3 days in a row. Now, you could if you needed to, like it was October, but there's no reason to do it in August, especially when you don't have an off day after Sunday's game, which was yesterday. And today, Monday, August 18th, you start a 5-game series with the Cubs in Wrigley. Side note, with a doubleheader today. Split, which is even worse. Split doubleheader means you're at the ballpark all day. We don't leave in between split doubleheaders. You sit there, you play cards, you eat, you rest, but you're at the ballpark. It's a long day in the office. So, you know going into the game which pitchers are available to you. Every day prior to first pitch, the front office and the manager and the pitching coach produce a piece of paper. On that piece of paper, it has every pitcher on your active roster, and it has a chart every day for the last 7 days, rolling 7 days, when the pitcher's pitched and how many pitches that pitcher pitched during that particular outing. Then you take that piece of paper and you do an X like Jay Trotter and Let It Ride when he's figuring out who to bet on, and all he does is ask people at the track, who do you like? Who do you like? And he crosses them off because, of course, everyone is an adult when it comes to picking horses unless you do it for a living. So, on that piece of paper, pitcher, 4 of them, all of their late inning relievers. And here's what it means when the pitcher is X through. It doesn't mean, hey, if we're in the game close, we can use them. If this game goes to 13 innings, we can use them. If there's a situation where we love the matchup, we can use them. Nope. The X on the list of pitchers, when you tell the manager and the manager and pitching coach are aware that a pitcher is unavailable, that means unavailable, period. You say to the pitcher, it's not like a surprise. We don't tell the other team because you don't want them to know who's available. You want the other team to have to prepare for everyone on your staff. But the pitchers themselves know exactly that they're not available. They don't do their normal game routine because they know no matter what, they are not throwing. So the Brewers did lose their streak. It got busted without their best relievers pitching. And you know what? Thumbs up. That's how it's supposed to be. You should feel really good about yourself if you're a Brewers fan, because that means to the Brewers, it's not the streak that's the goal. Thank God. The goal has to be the ring. So when you're going into a 5-game series against any team, you're obviously cautious. You get an extra roster spot during a doubleheader, yada, yada, yada. However, when it's against the team that's in second place who's chasing you, it becomes critical. Why? What's the scenario in a 5-game series that you can't have when you are in first place? If you can think about this, it's going to be very easy math, I promise you, because there is only one scenario. A 5-game series with an 8-game lead. What is that scenario? Don't get swept. If you lose the series 5-0, all of a sudden the Cubs are 3 back, and it's only the 23rd or the 22nd, and it's right back to where you started from. So, even getting one game. If the Brewers lose the series 4-1, that means the Cubs gain 3. That means they leave this series with a 5-game lead. If you can have a split in this series, my God, it's a dream. Cubs win 3 out of 5, big deal. You leave that with 5 more games off the schedule. You've only lost 1 game to them. You're at 7 games is your division lead. So there's so many scenarios from the Brewers' standpoint that are fine, and there's only one you can't have. And the funny part is, the one that the Brewers can't have, that's the one the Cubs desperately need. You cannot wake up heading into the end of August and be down 7 games. God forbid Milwaukee wins 3 out of 5 and walks out of there up 9 games. Then it is GAMEOVE. So these next 5 are going to be fascinating. And I don't need it. Let's do that better, Coca. There's a few things I need, but it's not this. 4869. If you're a Cubs fan heading into this 5-game series against the Brewers, and you recognize that you've got 8 games to make up, and you agree that your team has struggled, honestly, they're 13-14 since the All-Star break. Below 500 is not what you expected. You feel like Craig Counsell is your guy, but you're a little anxious and upset because you'd rather be chasing any team in your division except the Brewers because of the whole Chicago-Milwaukee, Craig Counsell situation. It's like a 2-year nightmare the Cubs are going through. But if you're a Cubs fan, this is your moment not to be the people who boo Kyle Tucker. What are we doing here? Kyle Tucker grounded out. The Cubs won yesterday 4-3, by the way, against the Pirates. Kyle Tucker rolls one over, and listen, he's not going full Juan Pierre down the line. He's just not. However, why are you booing the guy who you're trying to pray to God that he'll sign a long-term deal with your team, or else you're gonna end up with a 1-year rental and having traded Smith and Paredes? Tell me what was in your head booing Kyle Tucker. Is it the fact that he only has 1 home run since July 1st? Is that upsetting you? Like his power has just disappeared and you're thinking to yourself, what happened? Is he not able to handle the pressure of being on his platform year heading into free agency? And I say it is inappropriate to make any conclusory statements or thoughts on August 17th while you're sitting in Wrigley. I get that you want accountability, but Kyle Tucker, upon information and belief, he's a good guy. He cares. He wants to win. He wants to be a good teammate. He wants to be on a good team. He wants to be in a good city with good fans. And here comes everybody saying, but David, we're allowed to do whatever we want. And I understand. I don't mind the whole thing, and I'm not going to get into what happened in Boston with one of the Marlins players, Dan Myers. I'm not going to get into the fact that someone was heckling him so badly that he won't even tell us what was said. I'm not going to get into the fact that fans are inappropriate in certain places, and yeah, Boston's one of them. I'm not going to get into the fact that players hear things in left field, right field in Boston that would make it would make you furious and think you want to go full Malice at the Palace, but you don't. And I'm not going to talk about what happens in Philly either. But come on. Kyle Tucker? We got to be better than that. We can't erase the season Tucker has had, the difference he's made to your lineup with 1 ground ball that you perceive there was something going on that he didn't run out. I've been the guy who says you got to run everything out. You got to hustle. There have to be consequences to behavior. And if there's a situation where Kyle Tucker is dogging it, and that is something that Hoyer sees or that Craig Counsell sees, I promise you it's going to be dealt with. Those guys are professionals. But to boo him, I just didn't agree with the call. They need your support heading into this 5-game series. You can do it. I promise you. So I wonder what's going to happen with this 5-gamer. Should we make a prediction? Well, during the course of our picks of the day, we'll probably have a Brewer-Cubs game in there. Although there are a bunch of afternoon games, but tonight's a night game, so wait for our pick of the day later. You could be asking me who's this series more important for, and you would think that I would tell you, well, for the Cubs, they have to gain ground, of course. But no, this series is actually more important for the Brewers. And the reason it's more important for the Brewers is when you come off a 14-game winning streak, as a front office person, as a manager, you are protecting against the dreaded losing 9 out of 10. How do I know this? It's happened to me, where we've had an amazing season, an amazing streak. You then lose 9 out of 10. And then it comes on the heels of having won 9 out of 10. And you turn around and you say, my God, we are literally right back where we were, playing 500 ball over 20 games. When you have a streak, and I never had a 14-game win streak. As a matter of fact, Coca, I would bet you the Marlins in franchise history have never had a 14-game winning streak because those are hard to come by. But when you finally lose, and every team loses, it's baseball, it's the next game that matters. And the next game for the Brewers is this split doubleheader today against the Cubs, which means it doubly matters. So if you are a Brewers fan, you are looking very carefully at this doubleheader. At worst, it has to be a split for the Brewers. At best, you sweep them. But they get swept. All of a sudden, they're on a quick 3-game losing streak. This is how things can fall off the rails. That's why if you're the Cubs, you're going into this game with absolute full pedal to the metal. Is that the right expression? Pedal to the ground. Because you want to get both games of this doubleheader, because you want to get from 8 games back to 6 games back. You want the Brewers to be saying to themselves, oh my God, I can't even remember the 14-game winning streak. I've got a 3-game losing streak now, and now I'm worried that the Cubs are objects in the mirror that are closer than a Tyrannosaurus Rex. So it's going to be a great series. Terrible news out of Philly over the weekend. Well, we're talking sports now, so I guess it's all relative. But if you're Zack Wheeler, terrible, terrible news where he has been put on the injured list. Zack Wheeler is part of the starting rotation for that Philadelphia Phillies team that nobody wants to face in the playoffs. When you can come out with Sanchez and Suarez, who are Sanchez, I don't know where he is, Coca, but Sanchez is a legitimate Cy Young candidate. You got Suarez, who can deal 7 to 8 innings anytime he wants to and shut a team down. You got Nola coming back. You got Wheeler. You got depth. Things are feeling good. And all of a sudden, the Phillies lost to the Nationals 2-0, and Dave Dombrowski had to meet the media. It's not great when the president of baseball ops has to say anything. And he was meeting the media about Zack Wheeler, and he said that Zack Wheeler had been placed on the injured list. And that would make you concerned. So you'd say, oh, it must be Josh Hader. He's got a shoulder strain. Maybe he's got the little flexor situation. Or he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks like we told you with Hader, with the Astros. Bad. It's just bad. But then what Dombrowski said made you realize that it's way worse. You see, Zack Wheeler had been suffering from some shoulder heaviness and shoulder soreness, not uncommon for this time of year. The dog days of summer are when pitchers are feeling terribly. Even the healthiest horses in baseball are feeling tired. They are feeling a little bit of cricks in their crock. Just bad things happen in August, and it continues now through September, through October. Pitchers are not healthy starting now. No matter how well they perform, no matter what they say, you just feel this sort of soreness, heaviness. However, sometimes it's actually not the sign of fatigue, and it's the sign of injury. You see, Zack Wheeler was diagnosed with a blood clot. And we've seen a lot of that now. The most recent that I can think of was Victor Wembanyama. Damian Lillard, I believe, may have had one. I also believe that these are the type of blood clots that when a player has them, they are not cleared for activity for a really long time. Because when you get these blood clots, and I'm practicing medicine without a license, I've just been in a clubhouse before for a long time. You have to go on blood thinners. And for those of you not familiar with blood thinners, Don't cut yourself shaving when you're on blood thinners because it's hard to stop the bleeding. Blood thinners are things that are used to break down clots. They're things that are used to make sure that nothing gets clogged up in your bloodstream, because if you've got a runaway blood clot and that goes to your brain, guess what? You die. Now, don't go on WebMD. Don't go start breaking my chain over these comments. I'm telling you, as a baseball executive, what we get told and what we get worried about. When we hear that a player has a blood clot, it's immediate shutdown. It's not like they go on a throwing program. It's not like they do anything to stay. Like if they've got a cut on their left hand and miss 2 starts and they're righties, you keep them throwing, or they're doing cardio on the bike, or they're doing something every day, arm exercises with the rubber band. Whatever the case is, we've got a treatment for whatever ails a pitcher in order to minimize the time on the injured list, in order to get them back as quickly as possible. Blood clots are just a complete different set of rules, because we're not talking about a player's ability to pitch. We're talking about a person's ability to breathe. And when that is at stake, you realize immediately that life, death have way more to do and are way more important than NL East titles, Cy Young Award winners, or jewelry at the end of October. And this blood clot was a right upper extremity blood clot. So right upper extremity. Think about where that is in a pitcher. Think about where that is in a person. Think about now how scary that is in terms of if it's misdiagnosed, not diagnosed, and it goes haywire in your body, it's a problem. The good news is that the Philly doctors were able to figure this out incredibly quickly with the symptoms that Zack Wheeler said he had. Why is this noteworthy? 1, Zack Wheeler, baseball. Zack Wheeler is going to miss way more time than they're telling you. As a matter of fact, Coca, I'm going to give you a straight wait to see on Zack Wheeler. This is an official wait to see on DavidSamsonPodcast.com. You can look at the tracking document. You can look at merch. You can look at past episodes. You can look at every wait to see, every pick of the day, everything, every movie we've reviewed. An official wait to see, and we'll revisit it. Zack Wheeler's out for the season. And that may sound hard to believe, but it's already mid-August. Best case, like the blood thinners work, they take care of everything, and a month later, maybe we're back. That means he's missed a month and he's got to start over, because you can't just get put into a game, even if you're going to go the full Ohtani route and just pitch 1 inning in the big leagues as a reliever. This is a terrible loss for the Phillies. And what happens here is that because of the new rules, there used to be, years ago, if a player got hurt like this in August, you can make a trade for a pitcher, and that pitcher can be on your playoff roster, because the playoff rosters were not set until August 31st. The playoff rosters, they're done. It's set. You had to have players in and around by the 31st. There's no more waiver deadline. So, what does it mean? It means that the Phillies are now short who was arguably their best pitcher. People, Mets fans may remember back in 2017, if you're looking for comps, their closer Familia had a clot in his shoulder, just like Wheeler does. He missed 3 months. You may remember that Merritt Kelly had a clot just a couple of years ago, but he had it down in his calf. He only missed 1 month. Noteworthy that it's in the right upper extremity for Wheeler, closer to Familia than it is to Kelly. And you know that Wembanyama missed the balance of the season last year. So, I'm sorry to the Philadelphia Phillies. Their manager had no choice when he met the media. You got to tell that you cannot mislead about an injury. We play around a bit. Hey, we expect him to miss 1 start, maybe 2. Hey, we expect him to be back right when he's eligible to come off the injured list, even if we know he won't be. But if it's something like a back or an oblique or maybe a slight little hamstring pull, you can say those things. But with this, you just can't. It's a different type of injury. So Rob Thompson, the manager, just said plainly, we don't know the timeline. I'm thinking a lot about Zack and his family because this is not a hamstring injury or something like that. When a pitcher gets Tommy John, or a pitcher has shoulder soreness, or a pitcher has regular dog days of summer dead arm, you do not have the manager come out and say, hey, I was thinking about your family. The manager just comes out and says, yeah, he's got a little arm fatigue. We'll see him as soon as his stint is over. Disappointing, sad, scary. I hope he gets better. Dear Padres fans, my name is David Philip Samson of Nothing Personal with David Samson. When you went into your series against the Los Angeles Dodgers this weekend, there's only one thing that you had to make sure didn't happen. Why? Because you had a one-game lead and you were the belle of the ball, baby. The Dodgers are fading. They stink. The Padres have the best bullpen. AJ Preller, Wild West, double medical form. AJ, he put together a team that's going to get it done. Even you lose 2 out of 3, which is what I predicted, that the Dodgers would win the weekend series. We actually had to wait to see on Friday that the Dodgers will win the weekend series versus the Padres. That's fine. Dodgers win the weekend series. Tie heading into the final 42 to 44 days of the season. Well, when you're the Dodgers and you're a game back of the Padres and you're going for 3 games and you know that you've got 6 games coming up in 10 days and you know that if you win the first 3 games that you've won the season series, and if you're the Dodgers and you know that you can't stand the Padres and you're the front office and you know that you can't stand the Padres and you realize that you want to squash them like a little pee-pee, here's what you do. You go out and sweep. Way to go, Dodgers. You wanted it. You needed it. You got it. And now, guess what? You're out there saying, it looks like the Dodgers have a 2-game lead over the Padres. And I would say to you, it's true. The standings currently say that the Dodgers have a 2-game lead over the Padres. But guess what the Dodgers did by winning these 3 games? They won the season series. And you remember what's going on. Remember with the Yankees and Blue Jays? And when the Blue Jays won the season series, that means the Blue Jays, whatever lead they had in the standings, was really 1 game more than that. Well, now that's the Dodgers and the Padres. So while it looks like Dodgers are 2 games over the Padres, they're actually 3 games over the Padres. Because the Padres can't tie the Dodgers, they'd lose. They have to beat the Dodgers. They have to finish the season up 1 in the standings. There will be no game 163. There will only be a tiebreaker. And the first tiebreaker is season series. Guess what? Dodgers won 3 this weekend. They win the season series. They've got a 3-game lead only 72 hours after all of the great pundits of the world and all of the social media warriors and keyboard courage people. Everyone was saying, oh, these Dodgers, man, they're fading like a comet that comes once every 75 years. Nope. Nailed it. Now, it is true. They hadn't won 3 straight games in 6 weeks. What a great champion to know that we're going to have a 3-game winning streak again. We might as well do it right now. So the Padres, who haven't won this division since 2006, look like they're going to get to celebrate their 20th anniversary. Now, this is not me yucking on the Padres. Yum, they've been great everywhere except the GM. But, I mean, the Marlins never won a division ever. 2 rings. I'd rather have a ring than a division title, wouldn't you? I would. But the Padres are going to have to wait another year to win a division because the Dodgers, they're going to start rolling right now. Today's Monday. Thank you. That's been a public service announcement from David Samson on this Monday morning. Come Wednesday, Jimmy Buffett. God, there's very few people, Coke. I just realized you have no idea what I just did. Do you? Probably not. Jimmy Buffett, the singer? Cheeseburgers in Paradise? No? Okay. Thank you. Jimmy Buffett has a song called Come Monday. Thank you. Come Wednesday. Forget it. Just go right to the graphic. So you want to talk to Samson. We're not going to do him today, but what you are going to do is pick up your phone at the end of the second hour of the show and dial 631 DPS 4869. Pretend you're starting over. That's 631 377 4869. You're going to hear a voice. Hi, I'm David Samson. Please leave a message after the beep. What you're not going to hear is me telling you that when you do leave a message at the beep, and it's about 20 to 40 seconds, then there's a chance that you're going to be on Wednesday's show. So you're going to want to listen to every hour we do. And thank you, by the way. Another record that we're having at Nothing Personal, all because of you. Jack and Coca and I are completely indebted to you and what you do, so thank you. But Wednesday's second hour, it's all you. 631-377-4869. Review. Welcome to the review. No matter how crazy my schedule gets, and there's a chance it's going to get even crazier than it is now as we head into the next couple of months as this baseball season comes to an end, don't you worry. Not only will I be here every day, except when I'm not, which I am all the time. I mean, Coca, Jack, and I, we are around. But I'll always have time to watch a movie. You can get a lot done in 22 hours and a few little eye beams that you do here, a little cover up on a little cut that you picked on your nose. You can really cover it. I told you I'd watch a movie this weekend, and of course I did. It's called Everything's Going to Be Great. I'm officially in a fight with IMDb. I'm not going to send a letter. I'm not going to file any lawsuit like everybody else in the United States who just says, oh, I'm going to wake up and file a lawsuit. But how in the heck does that become a 5.5 movie? This is a movie with 2 Oscar winners, Allison Janney, an Oscar Emmy winner, Bryan Cranston. It's about 2 people who have 2 kids. One of the kids is an athlete. One of the kids is an artist. He's an actor. The mom and dad run a regional theater. And they're always, now, Milwaukee is a part of this movie, side note. So there's a whole Milwaukee theme here that I had no idea when I started watching the movie. All of a sudden, Milwaukee becomes a central part of it. It's sort of like when you're watching Bridesmaids and all of a sudden Milwaukee comes up. It may not be that movie, but I think it is. You're just always excited when Milwaukee comes up. Milwaukee is a central part. Milwaukee represents the Holy Grail. It's what this family wants to get to. It's a family that doesn't have a lot, but they put on regional theater and they try to make a living and they try to involve their kids. And it's a family of bagpipe playing, happy on the surface, maybe some bubbling resentment, maybe some bubbling family issues, maybe a story where then all of a sudden out of nowhere, Academy Award winner Chris Cooper shows up as Allison Janney's brother in Kansas, and you realize that there is not 1 minute in this movie where the dialogue doesn't matter. There's not 1 minute when you're not thinking to yourself, wow, the point of having nothing and having a dream and thinking that you have a chance to achieve the dream when life keeps telling you to stop. When the real world keeps saying you'll never achieve your dream. Don't even dream it. Don't even try it. You think you're tired. You think that you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. You have to support your family and you cannot do the thing you want. That is what we've all been programmed to believe. And I think it's wrong. And don't shoot the messenger. Oh, there's no way, David, you're the right person to be saying it because you get everything you want because of money and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You don't know anything about my life, but okay. Well, you guys actually know a ton about my life because I share so much with you. You know better. Daring to dream is what this movie is about, and saying everything's going to be great. Not everything's going to be okay. That is the line that Americans use all the time. Hey, everything's going to be okay. I don't want everything to be okay. I want everything to be spectacular, extraordinary. I want everything to be great. So when I talk to people from now on, having seen this movie, that's going to be my thing, Coca. Everything's going to be great. It is a movie that you should watch. It's a movie, along with The Life of Chuck. I would say these are the two movies I've reviewed in the last however long it's been. You can go to the document to find out when I reviewed The Life of Chuck. But Life of Chuck and Everything's Going to Great are two movies that I would very much like you to watch. Thank you. Tomorrow, one of you sent me something, and thank you. It's got to be someone from Milwaukee, Coca, but there's a movie called Just a Bit Outside, the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers. It's on Amazon. I'm watching it today. I've got Brewers on the mind, Brewers on the brain. We'll review that tomorrow. Check it out on Amazon. Well, or you can wait for me to check it out. Or you can check it out and tell me it's terrible and tell me not to watch it, and I'm still going to watch it. Hey, Victor, everything's going to be great. I can't. Should I tell him everything's going to be okay, Coca? Victor Robles, if you heard that name, go check out the video. I don't know if we have the video, but it was really something. He's in the minor leagues because he's hurt. He's a player, a Mariners center fielder, good player. You've heard of him. Maybe not. When you go down to the minor leagues and you're on a rehab assignment, here's what you don't do. You don't make trouble. Do you want to know the only thing that you're supposed to do as a major league player who's down on rehab with minor league players? You're supposed to buy them the post-game spread. And it's not supposed to be Egg McMuffins. Sorry, Mickey D's. Love you. Sponsor. I'll eat a quarter pounder on the air all day, every day. Fine. But you go down and you buy a great spread when you are on rehab. So what Robles did in Tacoma is he chose, here's what I'm going to do instead. There's going to be an opposing team's pitcher who's going to throw up and in. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get hit by a pitch that I swung at. I'm going to take my bat and I'm going to launch it at the pitcher. This is no joke. Robles launched his bat at the pitcher, got immediately summarily ejected, got held back by teammates and others, went to the dugout, took a bucket of sunflower seeds, threw that all over the field. That's an oldie but a goodie. Used to be way more fun when the seeds were not in bags, because then you could throw out the seeds and all of a sudden they'd be everywhere. Now it just looks like a bunch of bags. If you're watching on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, if you're listening to this, picture a bunch of sunflower seed bags that you see in a store on the field that he threw out. That's easy to clean up. What's the big whoop? You put about 50,000 sunflower seeds on the field, and either Vladimir Guerrero's been playing right field or someone threw something out of the dugout back in the days when it was cooler and funnier. This one was just a pain in the neck. Can you imagine, though, what's going to happen to Victor Robles? What is it if you had to guess? Just between us. What would you say? Would you say, David, the major leagues, there's nothing they can do about it. He was in the minor leagues. And I would then say to you, do you not remember that Major League Baseball has taken over the minor leagues? And there's no more Minor League Baseball Association. It's all run by the major leagues. Yeah, but David, what can you do? There's no union down there. And I'd say, oh, do you not remember that all the minor league players are now in a union? Oh, but David, they're not. He got hit. Of course he's going to throw a bat at the pitcher. That's like a Tuesday. No, you cannot have a deadly weapon in your hand. That's why throwing at somebody intentionally gets you suspended, because you could argue legally. And I've spoken to lawyers about this. Yes, I have. A pitcher who throws a hundo with no command and beans somebody, it's not great. You've got the possibility assault with a deadly weapon. It's a weapon, the ball in the hand of a guy with no command. It's a weapon, a bat in the hand of anybody. Have you ever heard about the hockey skaters who use their sticks as slashers? Guess what? That is a crime. That's assault with a deadly weapon. It's a stick, sharp. You can't just run around throwing stuff and say, oh, I'm between the lines. The clock is running, therefore I'm good to go. Or, hey, this is normal. I don't want to get hit by a pitch. I'm upset. I'm trying to rehab. I'm going to launch the bat at the pitcher. No, you can't do that stuff. I have not spoken to anyone at Major League Baseball at all. It is way too early in the morning. However, there will come a time when I may speak to someone in Major League Baseball and I may say, will Victor Robles get suspended? And you know what the answer will be? Yes. It can't even be a question. He's got to get suspended. If you're Major League Baseball, you don't want to wait a long time. It's not like you have to interview anybody. You look at the tape, you look at the HBP, you look at the situation. You may, just to cover your tuchus when you're talking to the union, you may very well interview the pitcher, Robles, maybe the manager, somebody else on the field. Fine. The result is that he's going to get suspended. As a matter of fact, I am so positive he's going to get suspended that I am willing, Coca, to double your work today. I'm winking. Do you get that joke? Because I've been doubling your work every day since June 2nd and not giving you any raise for it, just saying, hey, let's do an extra hour, and then saying, hey, after we do the 10 hours a week, which is compared to like the 15 a week from Dan, et cetera, or the 3 a week from Pablo, once we do the 10 a week, then I'd like you to do even more videos. Yeah, that. I'm going to give you a little more work. Add a second, wait to see to the document. Wait to see. This is official, folks, on August 18th, 2025. It's number 2. First one, Zack Wheeler out for the season. Second one, Victor Robles is going to get suspended. I'm sorry. It's just going to happen. Don't do that. I don't fully understand the whole concept, really, of reports that come out about players. And I'm not talking as a member of the media here. I'm talking as an executive. There's so much going on with the Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks, they traded Suarez, they traded Naylor, they traded Kelly. Basically, they were all about selling because they signed this amazing pitcher, Corbin Burnes, as a free agent from Baltimore, totally screwed Baltimore and totally screwed themselves because Burnes got hurt. The Diamondbacks are 5 games under 500. They're 11 and a half games back. I won't get to the part where they're only a half game back of the San Francisco Giants, who are buyers. I won't get to the fact that the Giants, since the Devers trade, stink like worst in baseball. I won't get to that. I'm focused on the Diamondbacks. Do you remember right after the All-Star break when Ketel Marte didn't play and his manager said, yeah, he's just not ready to go. We're giving him a couple days. He needs to take care of things. This is how he deals with things. And we talked about his house getting robbed. And we said, wow, he was not able to recover. It's a total violation. It stinks. But there's other people who get their house robbed and they go to work the next day. We went through all that with you. You may recall. Coca writes enough in the description that you could find it by searching. Why is it that a report came out that, this was in Arizona, in the Arizona Republic, this was on a radio show, that Marte is a tough teammate, bad teammate, and that the Diamondbacks will be looking to move him? Why is there Marte hate going on? Where does that stem from? When he's the one who is signed through 2031, when he's the one who the Diamondbacks owe $102 million to. Is this possibly and probably a payroll adjustment thing because the stadium renovations that they're doing, A, are more costly, or B, aren't going to be done fast enough, and C, their revenue is totally lagging, so they have to cut payroll? Is that possible? It can't be. Why? Because if you're a team and you're trying to move someone like the Twins were moving Correa and still paying $33 million to move to Correa to the Astros, here's what you don't do. You don't sully the guy. In fact, it's the opposite. If the Diamondbacks are looking to cut payroll and they're looking to trade Marte for whatever reason, let's say he is bad in the clubhouse. Maybe. But you don't want anyone to know that. Instead, you'd be the opposite. You'd actually be out there leaking to members of the media that he's good, that he is unbelievable. Now, there is some talk that Marte's been doing some things that may or may not be very good from a teammate standpoint. There is some talk that inside the clubhouse, maybe outside the clubhouse, he's doing things that may not actually be positive. So, for example, when it gets reported that the reason Marte was away from the club was actually not the break-in, it's that he went back to the Dominican for the All-Star break and that he did not come back and travel with Corbin Carroll and Eugenio Suarez, but instead he took a little extra vacation saying, oh, I'm going to miss a game or two. And he gets then to say, hey, I'm a little all famished because of the robbery. All of that is possible. It's also possible that the manager, Torey Lovullo, was telling the truth when he went on radio in Arizona and said, hey, I was unaware of the break-in that took place during the All-Star break. I was unaware of the timing of the break-in. I was unaware of what the intentions were, what plane he was on. I just became aware of him not being ready to play a baseball game on that day, that morning, afternoon of our first baseball game. Everyone now is chasing their tail about Marte. And he's a good player. Everyone is trying to figure out, what can we say? What can't we say? What can we say we knew? What can we say we didn't know? Here's a hint. The manager of the team saying that he didn't know about a break-in, here's how it works. When there's a break-in, what we teach the players anytime you have a problem is call your resident security agent. They're called the RSA. Your RSA will then get the authorities involved, spearhead any investigation, clean up any mess you may find yourself in. But the RSA, in addition to being loyal to the players and taking care of stuff, also communicates to the front office. The front office would then communicate to the manager, hey, you're going to notice Marte's not in our lineup. Why? We're going to tell you. We didn't really keep secrets from our manager unless we were going to fire that manager within the next couple of days. But other than that, we fully disclosed, and then we would tell the manager, hey, this is not for the media. This is for the media. We'd have talking points because the manager meets the media so much. So we'd have the information that you get as public, and we'd have the information that we would give that is private, and we would differentiate them to make sure there was no crossing the streams. The problem is that somewhere along the line, someone felt the need to start some sort of rumor that Marte's a bad guy, to the point where his teammate had to come out. His own teammate, Perdomo, had to come out and say, let me clear this up. He spoke to the media after the Diamondbacks game yesterday and said, don't talk to me anymore about this. Don't talk about Marte. He's fantastic. Whatever happened in the past is in the past. We're playing good baseball right now. No, they're not. And I feel like we just want to have fun. We just want to play. He was begging the media to stop. And you know what the media did, of course. You tell me to stop, I'm going to keep going. If you want to tourniquet a story, then stop talking about it yourself. But you think this Marte situation is going to go away? Absolutely not. This is now a part of the Diamondbacks story the rest of this season and the entire offseason. Will they or won't they? At some point, someone, maybe even Derek Hall, the president, will stand up and say, hey, it's just business. No, that's not the end of the show. We're coming right back after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is hour 2 of the first day of the third week of August. I totally made that up. It's August 18th. What were you doing last night, Coca? What a weekend. Just every weekend's so great. So much to do. Beautiful weather, if it was beautiful where you are. If it wasn't, then what a weekend to watch some sports. We were watching the Little League game. Well, it wasn't a Little League game. It was the Big League game because it was our pick of the day between the Mariners and the Mets. That's where the baseball, remember we talk about baseball went to the, Rickwood. They went to Field of Dreams. They went to Bristol Speedway. And then they go to the Little League World Series and they play a game in front of like 2,300 people. It's this amazingly cool Little League thing where you've got catching gear, like Cal Raleigh's catching gear, had pictures of all his teammates as little leaguers, just fun stuff. And you've got kids doing stuff. Kids were like being the PA announcer sometimes. They were doing interviews. It was awesome. Why does baseball do it? I think that's clear. Dang it, Coca, 4869. Why does baseball do things like the Little League Classic? They do it for a very simple reason, trying to get kids involved in the game because either they'll become players or they'll become fans. So everything's coming up roses. The Mets won a game. We'll get to that later. Then during the game, it was time for the compulsory commissioner's interview. That's when the commissioner of whatever sport, wherever there's a special game, the commissioner gets on the broadcast and starts talking. Part of his obligation as commissioner, and boy, did Rob Manfred make news. And I can't understand it for the life of me. Rob Manfred started talking about expansion. He started talking about geographic realignment. And you would think that he started giving you the ingredients for New Coke. You would think that he started telling you exactly what's going to happen in 2064's World Series and established a futures market. It was insane. The internet blew up when he was asked a question about expansion during his interview and asked about how that was going to work. And he said, I think the owners realize there's demand for Major League Baseball in a lot of great cities, and we have an opportunity to do something good around that expansion process. Well, that's page 1 of the expansion playbook. We've talked to you about that playbook before, and that playbook means that you have to get multiple cities all thinking that they are the ones who are going to get the expansion team, because then when they get their ownership groups together that are local, they'll get the biggest, wealthiest people wherever. Maybe it's the guy who gave, it could be Kansas, Coca. Forget the Royals. We could do something in Kansas and maybe David Booth will give money to expansion and not just to the Kansas team. So, of course, the commissioner at all times is going to talk about lots of choices, lots of demand. When in fact, baseball knows very well they're putting one team in the East, one team in the West time zone. They've got it narrowed down. Wink, wink, don't tell anybody. It's not official, Nashville. You do not have a team yet. Do not get cocky. There's a lot of people who want to bring a third team up into the New York area or right in the Connecticut area. Don't kid yourself. Montreal would love a team. You bet your sweet bipsters that could it be on the other side, Vancouver? Could it be Oakland? Could it be San Antonio? So many choices. So you keep all those choices alive, and then you talk about it. And then the commissioner said, if we expand, I love his choice of if. I would have said when, but let's not quibble. When means it's going to happen. If means it may not happen. When you're talking and you give scenarios, grammar, do we have any music for grammar lesson? Is there anything you can play when I do this, Coca? Because people get upset, but then in fact, they're super happy that I do it. What? Just play something right now. Nothing? I mean, we're a bigger show, Coca. We're getting bigger. We're getting more audience every day. Can't you just play one piece of something like, ta-da? Okay. I think Coca's angry. I think we're in the middle of a segment. And then when I get distracted like this at the end of the show, this is a little inside the show that you're getting right now on a Monday morning. Then Coca comes up to me on the phone after. And when we do our post-production meeting, he says, David, why do you keep doing that? Stop it. When I don't talk to you in your ear or write something down, it means stop doing what you're doing. And then you double down and keep talking about it. The difference between if and when. When means that you believe it's an eventuality, that you are willing it into existence. You don't say, if I get older, you say, when I get older, because you're going to get older. Anyway, if we expand, when? It provides us with an opportunity to geographically realign. And you would think that the commissioner just said something that was so epic, like it was newsworthy. Do you know when we started talking about geographical realignment? A decade ago. Strategic Planning Committee. I'm sitting in there for Jeffrey Loria, I was on the competition committee, on the diversity committee, international committee, whatever it was. Jeffrey's on the Strategic Planning Committee, and he couldn't attend that particular meeting. You sit in, which happened no more than 4 times per year, and the conversation is about expansion. 10 years ago. Getting to 32 teams has been something Major League Baseball has wanted to do for a decade. They're going to get to 32 teams, I promise you. And this was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, it's even more acute. Then, when you get to 32 teams, you have an opportunity then to put 8 divisions of 4 teams each. 1, expand the playoffs. 2, have 4 teams per division. 3, you already have the balanced schedule where every team is playing everybody else. So the geographic realignment makes perfect sense. 4, you get to, in a collective bargaining agreement, talk about expansion. You get to throw a bone to the players. Listen, you don't want to travel as much within your division? We get it. Not only do we have a balanced schedule, but we're going to change the divisions so we could take buses and not planes. We could take trains, maybe even automobiles. Obviously, I'm joking. It's always going to be chartered, comfortable planes, but fewer trips out of the time zone. All of these different things. Does that mean the Mets and Yankees would be in the same division? Yes. Does it mean the Dodgers and Angels would be in the same division? Yes. Does it mean the American League and the National League would go away? Yes. Does it mean that you would have one Major League Baseball unit of 32 teams and it would no longer be the American League Championship Series or the National League Championship Series, and that you'd have a chance of just having the Championship Series? Well, that wouldn't make sense. What would you call it? The semifinals? Right now, you've got a sponsor for the ALCS and the NLCS. It's part of the broadcast deals where one network gets the NLCS, one network gets the ALCS, and then one network gets the World Series. But all of the broadcast deals are up, and they're all going to be renegotiated for 2029. Wait a second. Can you renegotiate with way more playoff inventory and change the way the playoffs are done to add even more excitement to what would be the month of October? Can you, at the same time, in a new collective bargaining agreement, reduce the number of games from 162 to 154, but increase the number of playoff teams and increase the length of the playoffs, the payoff that the players get during the playoffs? Hold on, I'm coming up with the new CBA in my head. From a decade ago. I understand why this is getting so much attention, because you're saying to yourself, this would be such a big change, and I don't like change because I'm a baseball fan. And one of the things about being a baseball fan is that I have to be a traditionalist, and I've got to take every little adjustment, every little change, and I've got to poo-poo it and say it's wrong. Forget the fact that stuff happens in football and in basketball all the time, but in baseball, we're sacred, baby. Do you think that getting rid of the pitchers hitting and putting in the universal DH, do you think that that is unrelated? Do you think that umpires no longer wearing AL and NL on their cap is unrelated? Do you not recall that umpires used to be either National League umpires or American League umpires? All you got to do is look at their cap from years ago, and now they're not. Everything that we've been doing in the sport, back when it was a we and not a they, now it's a they. It was a we for a very long time. Everything we were doing was heading toward 32. Everything we were doing was heading toward geographic realignment. Everything we were doing was to make it make sense. No, Atlanta in the Western Division. That was a piece of brilliance. I mean, many of you may not remember that, but it used to be. Do you know that Rob Manfred talked about this way before the Little League Classic last night, when everyone's pretending this is like epic new news? Oh my God, we finally got something out of the commissioner. In 2023, that's 2 years ago, Rob said, for there to be serious talk about realignment, it would be done in the context of expansion. You almost have to talk about some realignment in the context of expansion. If you went to 32, you'd at least have to talk about getting geographic. That's 2 years ago. Now, people may not remember what he said. Maybe he doesn't remember what he said, but I assume he remembers exactly what he said because he's got the same PR people who would go up to him and say, here's the messaging we want to do about this, because there's always messaging that the commissioner has on myriad topics, because you never know what the broadcaster is going to bring up when you agree for the commissioner to be interviewed. Wink, wink. You never know what the questions are going to be asked. Wink, wink. You never know how to practice and how to make sure that you've got the answers you want to get out there. Wink, wink. It's like a mystery. You need Shaggy to figure it out. No, you don't. You don't even need the A team. You just need to remember what your message points were, and Rob Manfred remembered them perfectly. And for whatever reason, it's picked up this amount of speed or virality. Now, that's not a word. Virality, vitality, utilitarianism. I can't think of the word. It's picked up. It's become viral. Do you remember when the Brewers and the Astros had to switch leagues by chance? Anyone remember that? I was thinking the other day, Coca, when Jim Crane bought the Astros from Drayton McLean, and the condition of that purchase was for the Astros to move to the American League. I don't know if you remember that, Coca. And you'll go back, and if you look at what year the Astros moved, it will be right around when Jim Crane bought the team. And it was done because then, remember when Interleague was happening and you needed to figure out how to get Interleague played when it was only 2 weeks in the season. And nowadays, Interleague is played every day because there's an uneven number of teams. Does anyone remember any of this? All right, stay with me. Going to 32 teams has to happen. Having 15 teams in each league doesn't work. Having 32 teams works. Having 8 division works perfectly. Having 8 division winners works perfectly. And you know what else that would do? What's the thing that teams complain about? Do you remember the whole thing like during last year's playoffs and every year's playoffs when teams that work all year long to win a division by a lot and have the best record, and then they end up losing in the division series because the teams that have to play in the wild card who happen to win the wild card, even though it's dicey to win a wild card round, or even when it was just one game, now it's best 2 out of 3, that team ends up sharp and hot. And all of a sudden you've got these really good teams losing. And all of a sudden you had teams saying, I actually don't want the bye. Is there a way that I can possibly get rid of the bye? Can I opt out of the bye? Remember that talk? Can I not only opt out of the bye, but how about if you reward me by choosing my playoff opponent? Never going to happen, ever. Mark my words, it will never happen that baseball will have a team choose who it wants to play in the playoffs as a reward. There's not one GM or one team president. There is not one GM or one team president who would ever agree to a system where you have to choose who you play because you can bet that you'd lose to that team and then you'd look like an absolute fool, if not an imbecile. So, what the commissioner did last night, this has been not just on the horizon. This is so close, you don't even need your nearsighted spectacles. You don't need your telescope. You just practically need your readers, the 175ers from the drugstore. That's it. It's coming soon. Now, you know, as a Nothing Personal fan, that all this talk of expansion, let's say it together. What are they waiting for? What are they waiting for, Vegas? What are they waiting for, Tampa? Oh, they're waiting. Yes, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures of the stadium in Vegas and the cranes and the rebar. I've seen it all. I've seen the permits. I've read the articles. Yes, thank you, everybody. Yes, I've seen that Tampa may have an agreement. Haven't seen the stadium plans there quite yet. Haven't seen exactly where that's going to go. Have you? They can't announce expansion until Tampa starts giving up public money to the new owner, can they? Nope. They can't talk about expansion until they know for sure that they got that Vegas stadium built and open, right? You've got this. Nothing personal pick of the day. What a weekend. We had it on Friday. Padres plus 156 over the Dodgers. Thank God we had that. Well, we did have a wait to see that the Dodgers would win the series 2 out of 3, but we wanted the Padres to win Friday night. Once they didn't win Friday night, that was it. Good night. Good luck. Padres got swept. We lost. Thank heaven for Corbin Day. Who paid attention to Saturday's Corbin Day when the Rangers played the Blue Jays? Anyone? Anyone? Blue Jays hammered Corbin. I mean, hammer time. I think it was 2 touchdowns and an extra point. That's my guess. So we're 1-1. So yesterday was a big game. I'm watching the Little League Classic. I'm thinking Vanessa Kirby has it. Not Vanessa Kirby. Love you, man. Thank you for doing our show before. Not Vanessa Kirby. The other guy. The guy pitcher for the Mariners. And now I'm blanking. Is it George Kirby? What is going on with me, Coca? Do I have Monday brain or what? What is Kirby's first name? Please. Damn it, Coca. Thank you. George Kirby. Terrible. He got rocked by the Metropolitans. I mean, rocked in a way that even the Mets couldn't blow the lead last night. And believe me, if they could have, they would have. We thought there was a chance. I'm watching saying it can't happen again. This would be the end of the Mets season. It cannot happen again. The Mets are going to not blow it. They won. So we went 1-2. We are 110 and 104, but we're back at it today. And if you thought that I was happy with the Blue Jays over the Rangers, you're right. I'm even happier with the Blue Jays over the Pirates. How can you get the Blue Jays' #1 starter come October, Kevin Gausman? How can you get him as only -108? How can you do that? He can't be an underdog. But he is, because they're playing the Pirates and Paul Skeens. And you guys are all doing it again. You're falling for the Paul Skeens can't lose situation. We're not doing first 5. We're doing the full game money line. That's our pick of the day. Blue Jays over the Pirates. It'll be fun to watch. Gausman, Skeens, watch it. And watch how cool it is to be a really good pitcher on a really good team versus the best pitcher on a really bad team. Go check out the difference. And if you want to, you can look at the standings just to buttress your argument. Then you can open your eyes in October and say, oh, that looks like a Blue Jay, not a Pirate. Cleveland Browns. LeBron James. Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns. Dylan Gabriel. I figure if I say that enough, people are going to like it. Do we talk about the Browns too much, do you think, Coca? I don't think we do. The whole Shedeur Sanders situation, drafted in the 5th round, waiting there from the 1st round. Then he's the 4th-string quarterback, but then he starts the preseason opener. Then he has a good game. Then LeBron James tweets that I told you so, he's the greatest. And then he didn't move on the depth chart. Then he hurt his oblique. Remember that whole situation? Well, we are now a week away at most from finally ending the Browns quarterback conversation. That's not right, Coca. 4869. The Browns quarterback conversation is going to be one that we're going to milk all season long. We're going to get to talk about it after each single week, because if Joe Flacco is quarterback one and he starts, then he doesn't do well because the Browns are bad and they lose, or he gets hurt, then we get to say, wait a minute, what about Dillon Gabriel? Why isn't he the new quarterback? Then when Dillon Gabriel, who's number 2 on the depth chart, he plays and doesn't play well, then we're going to say, is Shedeur better? Why doesn't he get his chance? Then he'll play a regular season game and the Browns won't lose too badly, and everyone will say, well, he's better than what we got. Let's keep playing him. Let's develop him. We'll get to talk about this for the next, 20 weeks. But let's start with today. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's just say that Dillon Gabriel had his debut, and it was fine. It was fine. It's preseason. Let's not get too crazy. I am struggling with the articles that are being written and the talk that is being had when I go out and when I speak to friends, when all of you are talking so much about the performance of your team during the preseason and the performance of specific players during preseason. My God, he looked so good in the OTAs. He was throwing darts. Holy criminies. During the joint scrimmage, he went 3 for 6 with a pick. He couldn't do the red zone. He had 7 tries in the red zone and scored once. What a nightmare. Because of course, that's exactly what the real football executives are doing. They're looking at the joint scrimmage and they're saying, oh, wow, totally ineffective. I'm going to totally change my depth chart because of this. Give me a break. Well, Kevin Stefanski, the Browns coach, obviously not with any involvement from the Haslams, because Jimmy and Dee Haslam have to speak to their daughter first. Once they speak to their daughter, then we'll find out who the starting quarterback is. But Stefanski said, hey, we got to make a decision sooner rather than later. We got to come up with the number 1 starter. He said, this is his literal quote, I need to get the football team in here, talk to the players, those types of things. We're working towards, obviously, week 1. That's part of what this week is about, getting our football team ready. So we'll make all those type of determinations in the next couple days. Woohoo! Wouldn't it be great when you're trying out for something that you hear something within days and then you sort of figure out, oh, what's next? Oh, I guess I am the number 1. I better start learning the playbook. Or, oh, I guess I'm number 2. I better start deciding, do I need to learn the playbook? Wait a minute, I'm number 4. I got to start figuring out how I'm going to get paid to not be active. How's that going to work? If you're Dillon Gabriel, a little word of advice, my man. When you have an opportunity to be a quarterback in the NFL, just keep it down. Try not to do anything that will give the front office any opportunity to be upset with you and to move you down or up or sideways, or to think that you're a good teammate, bad teammate, sideways teammate, or to think that you're not paying attention to what matters more, which is what matters most, which is winning games in the regular season. Dillon Gabriel got caught up in a little bit of a hijinks on social media where he had given up a comment talking about entertainers. He basically said, there's entertainers and there's competitors, and I get that, but my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. People took that as saying, oh, you're the competitor, the no personality competitor, and you're making fun of Sanders, who must be the no talented entertainer. Why would you do that to your teammate? And Dillon Gabriel said, hold on a second. I didn't do anything of the sort. You totally misunderstood me. When I was talking about entertainers and competitors, I'm not talking about Sanders. He then had to meet the media a second time to say, I would never make that comment about Sanders. And I've said this before. That's why it's interesting. But for me, I've explained that entertainers, competitors, the difference, what I am, what my teammates are, what job we have to do. He got very upset. He got very, very defensive. Do you think for one hot second that all the issues with Shedeur Sanders that caused him to fall in the draft, both on and off the field issues, both daddy related and not daddy related, whatever was taken care of through therapy and what wasn't, do you not think that part of the equation that teams were using was the distraction that Sanders was himself? Of course it is. It doesn't mean that I disagree with him as a personality and how much I love the fact that people have personalities and I want their personalities to show and grow and shine. I just don't want a personality when they're young, have never played, never proven themselves. I want you to STFU and play the game. You'll have plenty of time to get attention. You'll have plenty of time with all of the media attention later. If I am the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to Shedeur Sanders and I'm saying, I appreciate your openness to talk to the media. I really do. But we're going to protect you. We're not going to make you available to speak to the media. We've got that power as the team. Now, players on their own can go on their social media. Fine. Do what you want. Players on their own can decide to leak stuff to the media. Fine. Do what you want. We're not going to aid and abet. We are not going to make it so that your distraction can in any way serve as an excuse. That was always one of my big things as a president of anything, but a team for sure. You cannot let distractions become excuses. You just can't. Life's distracting, folks. Can you imagine going into work today and say, I got so distracted by Samson's show today, I need a minute. I need a half-hour break right when I get to work because my mind isn't right. I've got little twirly birds twirling in my head. Yeah, you get a lot of sympathy, I'm sure. What's going to happen there, Coca? What would be your guess? I would say that Dylan Gabriel will make the team. I would say that Shedeur Sanders will not. But that's okay. I've been saying that from the beginning. The reason why Kevin Stefanski, I suspect, is going to have a hard time reaching the Haslams is because the Haslams are a little busy right now. It's not that they're on the reclamation tour and trying to rehabilitate their image by meeting with Deshaun Watson and telling him, hey, man, we've got this. Together, we are going to make this decision to sign you for $230 million. We're going to make it right. We can do it. Let's hold hands. No, that's not what the Haslams are doing. They're thinking about and worrying about trying to get a new stadium done. If you go back to episode 1, you're going to see that we talked about on Nothing Personal the Cleveland Browns stadium situation and the fact that they are being sued by the city of Cleveland for doing a deal still in Cleveland, but at Brook Park. Remember when the Browns bought all that land? I think that it'll come clear to you. Well, guess what? They're trying to build this stadium, and they got an update yesterday that floored me. Haslam was notified by the state of Ohio's aviation administrator that a permit application to build the new stadium in Brook Park is not going to be granted. It was denied. Do you know what that means? That means the building they designed on the plot of land they designed it and the area where they bought it, they forgot to speak to the airport first. They forgot to speak to the aviation administration. It's the first thing we did with Marlins Park. Before breaking down and tearing down the Orange Bowl, before anything, because Marlins Park is close to MIA, and if you pay attention and you're landing to the west or you're taking off to the east, Marlins Park is right there. The first thing we did was make sure we had no issues with the FAA or the local airport administrators. Because if you do, then you can't build the stadium. And it's not one of those things, hey, how about if I donate $100,000 to your campaign? What about that? What about if I give you like an extra refurbished baseball field? What about that? Nope. We're talking about airline safety. Now, you may think that's a laugh, given the fact that airline safety doesn't seem to be the primary interest of anyone in government currently. But you can't build a stadium in a flight path. Clear as day. You think the soccer stadium built in Miami, right at that golf course, just east of the airport, if you've been to Miami on a cruise recently, that wasn't the poop cruise, then you'd notice there's a ballpark. But then you'd notice, my, that looks low. And then you realize they graded down, built it, and it is low because they were told that's the only way to get permission, which they got. Can you imagine doing drawings and setting up your stadium in Brook Park in Cleveland, Ohio, and totally forgetting about the airport? How do you fix it? Well, you can dig, or you can move it one direction or the other according to what they want. But all of that is going to cost extra money. Do you think, as a conspiracy theorist, that it's possible that the city of Cleveland called up the state of Ohio's aviation administrator and said, "Excuse me, my name is John Cocktoaston of the local city government in Cleveland, and it would be super sweet of you to deny their permit in Brook Park, because then they'll come crawling on their knees like they're wearing Pampers, and they will come over and they will say, 'Please let us stay in the city of Cleveland. We want it so badly. We'll be your partner. You can give us anything we want. We have no other choice.'" Do you think that's what was going on? Do you think the fix was in? So the airport authority was told to deny it so that Cleveland could get the team back in the city of Cleveland? You want to talk about a game of checkers versus a game of chess? Except didn't happen that way. The aviation administration, they are not ripe for corruption. They're not ripe for bribery. They're not ripe for conversation, because what they're ripe for is, we really would prefer there not to be any crashes in our backyard at our airport. That's what they're ripe for. So the Cleveland Browns either have to design a shorter, meaning not as high stadium, or they can find a way to build further away from the airport. Maybe still on the land they owned, because they bought a lot of it. But that changes all sorts of things when you move from where you're supposed to be, because of utilities, because of parking, because of ingress and egress. There are millions of things that go into exactly where a stadium goes on a plot of land, unless, of course, you're Vegas and you've got 9 acres, which means you've got no flexibility whatsoever. I digress. What does it all mean? It means that the lawsuit that's happening between the city of Cleveland and the Browns, that's going to keep going. It means that the Browns, who are suing the city in order to be allowed to move, that's going to keep going. It means you're going to hear arguments on both sides here going forward about the Cleveland Browns stadium situation. And what it really means is the distraction is working, because it means that most shows won't talk about the Browns on the field and their quarterback situation on the field. It won't work with us, though. Can you imagine doing something that gets you fined $20 or $30 million? And you'd say, well, if you're rich enough and you do insider trading and you're a billionaire, then what's 20 to 30 million? Just cut off the zeros. That's like, you or I being fined $20. What's the big deal? Yeah, we made some mistakes. Here's $20. Let's move on with our lives. And I won't buy coffee for 7 days, or a bagel, or a schmear, and we're back to square one. That's true. It does depend. Except to people who've got that kind of money. And then when you fine them $20 million, the way Michigan got fined this week. Caveat before I start this story, as you all know. Hi, my name is David Samson, and I'm a Badger. Through and through, top to bottom, all 65 inches. Well, 69 on my toes. All of that. I bleed. I don't like that expression. I bleed red. Well, we all bleed red, but I'm a Badger. I want Michigan to get punished so badly for their nefarious activities. I want the NCAA to go into the Chargers locker room and pull them out. I want Michigan to be shamed from their behavior. Do you remember when they self-imposed a punishment because back in the day, like last year, 2 years ago, that's supposed to be a way to get the NCAA off your back, to say, hey, I don't know what you're going to do, but I beat you to it. I was so upset with the conduct of my coach, of my coaches, of my players, that I suspended them even before you could suspend them. I self-punished. And now that I've self-punished, we should be good to go. Just give me time served. Well, the NCAA said, I appreciate everything you did. I really do. But I'm going to tell you right now that we're about to hand down a fine to you that's going to make you sweat. And we're going to do it based on budgets. We're going to take away 10% of your football budget. We're going to take away 10% of the cost of your football scholarships. And just for S's and G's, we're going to take away all of your postseason revenue for 2025 and 2026. Good luck. If you add all those up, what Michigan got fined for their sign stealing scandal, remember the whole Connor Stallion, all of his sign stealing, all the stuff he did? Remember, this was not the Jim Harbaugh recruiting situation. This was sign stealing where everyone said, hey, who knew? He had no idea. How could he know? Well, here's the story. They know. And the NCAA handed out these punishments, and Michigan was none too happy. Number one, not too happy to write a check to the NCAA of that size, which they're going to have to do. Number two, not having your postseason revenue to use as part of funding your program and other programs, not ideal. Does it allow Michigan right now to go to the non-Olympic sports or even some of the Olympic sports and say, sorry, we're going to focus on football and basketball. Good luck to everyone else. See you later. The ramifications of this punishment are going to be long and deep, like a pebble in a stream. Michigan immediately, if not sooner, said, we're going to appeal. Now, it's a funny one. They're going to appeal because it's their view that what the NCAA did in making the decision to punish and the amount that they punished, it was not enough due process. It was not basically in any way correlated to the crime, quote unquote. And therefore, this is beyond reason. Therefore, we're going to appeal. What is it that you think will be the result of that appeal? You think maybe they're going to call up the coach? They could do that, the new coach, Moore, and they'd say, I'm sorry, we suspended you for a game. You're suspended for 2 games this upcoming season, but Michigan appealed, so you know what? We're going to make it 1 game. We're going to cut it in half just for you, man. It's not going to happen. It's just not. And if it does, that just shows such wimpiness on behalf of the NCAA. The NCAA had a obviously, when they did this, they expected to have press releases by everyone who got punished. Think about this. The Stallions people, they, of course, had to get in this because they were part of the punishment. We are not surprised by the NCAA's ruling because the NCAA did, as it always has done, the wrong thing. Based on the penalties laid down today, it is obvious that this whole ordeal was just another last-ditch effort by the NCAA in its perpetual petty witch hunt of Coach Harbaugh. Connor was just the vehicle through which the NCAA could give itself the last word in this vendetta. Do you like the little bait and switch? Because I loved it. I'm here for it. I'm here for Connor Stalions PR people to say, hey, this wasn't about me. This is all about Harbaugh. This is all about how much the NCAA hates Harbaugh. Me, hire me. I'm ready to work, baby. His PR people, Connor Stalions, said, listen, wonderful person, smart, loyal, dedicated, determined. Regardless of what the NCAA says today, he plans to continue learning about and contributing to the game of football at its highest levels. I'm sorry. What does that mean? That means you're not employed. You're not going to be employed, but you'd like to say, hey, I could be employed because I'm so smart, loyal, and dedicated. What program? Where is he, Coca? Where is he? Connor Stalions. Who's he working for? Do we know? Can we guess? Real estate firm? Broker? I'm not selling or imputing brokers. I love brokers. Many of them. I mean, if you're a broker in Jersey, obviously, anywhere, Florida. I found this whole Michigan punishment to be awesome. $30 million's not nothing. Scholarship money, not nothing. They have a budget. They have an operating budget. This actually impacts them. The message here that the NCAA is giving is a great message. Hey, guys, don't do this. Don't be Harbaugh. Don't break the rules in the way he did with such reckless abandon year after year after year. You know what they didn't do? The NCAA, when they did not vacate Michigan's national championship, took the easy way out. You want to make sure you make an example of what Michigan did and how much Harbaugh knew, which is everything, how much was actually being done by Stalions, which is everything. You want to do something strong. You want to show power and not fear because you, the NCAA, has been working from fear ever since you thought the Super League was going to happen or that the Power Four conferences were going to have you eliminated so you'd all lose your jobs. Here's what you should do. Vacate the national championship. It's your national championship. Why don't you show them who's boss? Why don't you get out in front of the story and say, we're not permitting this. You need us. You want enforcement of all these new rules, NIL, et cetera. You want people enforcing rules that have to do with gambling, that have to do with integrity of the product on and off the field. You need us because you're not going to self-do it. Don't give me your BS about self-disciplining, missing 2 meaningless games and saying, oh, I guess that's enough. My only wish is that Harbaugh were still a coach at Michigan because he would have been suspended not 1 game, not 2 games, 5 or 6 games. That would have shown him. He would have changed his behavior immediately. That would have had the, what is it called, Coca, when you do something to make sure that someone doesn't do something after that? You are teaching them a lesson. Deterrence. Thank you, Coca. Wow. Thank God it's Monday. Don't panic. 8 minutes left. That would be a deterrent. Stallion's lawyer, man, he kept going with his quotes. He was just very frothy. The NCAA claims to be about protecting amateurism in college sports. It does not. Let's not forget that while the NCAA went after Reggie Bush after he left USC and took his Heisman away, it let USC continue to proudly display O.J. Simpson's Heisman in Heritage Hall. Here's a little note for lawyers who are going to try to do PR. Don't use O.J. Simpson as an example to the negative or to the positive. I think it's pretty clear that when you're trying to make a point and you're using O.J. Simpson, when you're using O.J. Simpson as your bellwether, both negatively and positively, you've lost. You've lost. Stallions, what's the hourly rate of that lawyer? Contingency? You giving him 33% of your next paycheck? I'm not saying, uncomfortable segue alert, I am not saying that the thing to do when you need money and you're a coach and you can't afford the best lawyer is then to start gambling. What I am saying is that gambling is a tremendous source of entertainment. And if you have a problem, there are people, it's like any other addiction. There are people, if you want to get treated, you can get treated. There are lots of systems in place to protect yourself from yourself. There has been a huge amount of talk on this show and on many other shows about prop bets. The reason I want to revisit it is that it's one thing when the governor of Ohio says, I'm looking to eliminate prop bets. It's another thing when the NBA itself and the NBA Players Association talks about the same thing. Will it happen this weekend? The NBA came out and gave a statement to ESPN saying protecting the integrity of our game is paramount, and we believe reasonable limitations on certain prop bets should be given due consideration. Any approach should aim to reduce the risk of performance manipulation while ensuring that fans who wish to place prop bets can continue to do so via legal regulated markets. That's the quote of a partner of a gambling company. That is a quote of a solutions-based organization who doesn't want to go sideways with one of their biggest benefactors. Does that mean that what the NBA is saying doesn't have credibility? No. As long as you understand what's behind the things that people say and you understand the relationships that would cause a CEO or a spokesperson to take a certain vantage point, and then you watch Nothing Personal and realize, I'm going to not let them get away with that. Whether it's a player, a league, a person, whether it's culture, sports, entertainment, whatever the show is about that particular day, we're going to shine light on quotes and explain why they're being said. The NBA spokesperson had to get that word out. Why would he have to get out the word that they're okay with prop bets that are done via legal regulated markets? Because they're partners with sports books and companies that do legal regulated markets, and Those legal regulated markets are the ones that actually help the nefarious actors get caught. But when you've got Michael Porter Jr. and other such players who are talking openly about, hey, I can manipulate this prop, I can manipulate that prop because I want to get my buddies some money. I wouldn't do it. I could do it. My brother did it. There's baseball players doing it. When that exists, it's not about eliminating prop bets at all. Because the fact of the matter is illegally placed prop bets are placed in a way that, hey, it's not just really going behind the grocery store inside a car that is owned by the chief where you can get a dime bag and also pay money every week when you lose. It's not like that. These offline sports, illegal betting machines, these even local bookies, everything's online. Everyone's got apps. Everyone's got Venmo. Everyone's doing certain things at all times. The reason why you need the amount of money that the legitimate gambling companies are putting into enforcement and that they're putting into technology in order to catch any sort of irregularities in the market is to stop the very thing that we need to stop. We don't need to stop prop bets. We need to stop the prop bets that are being manipulated. We need to stop the prop bets that are making their way to the players, that all of a sudden players are saying, oh, I'm going to do a solid, either because I don't have to or worse, because I have to. As a consequentialist, it really doesn't much matter with me. So the NBA comes out with that statement, but then the NBA Players Association does its own. They said players are concerned that prop bets have become an increasingly alarming source of player harassment, both online and in person. If tighter regulations can help minimize that abuse, then we support taking a closer look at them. This is great. The NBA Players Association has to back its players. We got to stop the online abuse. We got to stop the in-stadium abuse. We've got to find ways. We've got to work with owners of teams to say, you're going to verbally abuse. You can't swear at players. We can eject you. We can easily have rules. If you start talking to a player and mocking them or yelling at them for not getting enough rebounds or points, it's our ballpark. It's our arena. You don't have the right to free speech. We have the right to kick you out whenever the heck we please. You want to start bringing down a player for their performance? See you later. We'll ban you. We're not going to surround players with that. We have the ability with enforcement to look at all the online hate. You want to do online threats? Instead of just reporting them the way we always do and then dropping it, which we always do, we're going to, in cooperation with the gambling companies, we're going after you. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to threaten on the internet. It's a crime. Now, we may not have the resources publicly, but privately we sure do, and we're going to allocate it. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that not just prop bets continue, but that gambling companies continue to have the ability to give the people what they want, because the majority of people are not the bad actors. It's like throwing away every cop because of the dirty cops. It's like throwing away a whole team because you don't like one of your players. It's like hating someone because of transitive property of hate or because you've been taught to hate. It's absurd. You've got to make the judgments for yourself. You've got to decide who you don't like and who you like, not based on what someone else says, based on how you engage with the person. When it comes to prop bets, you can't take away a prop bet or the ability to be entertained. Yeah, somebody fell off a roller coaster and died. Guess what? I can still go to a roller coaster. Guess what? Someone's parachute didn't open. Yeah, it's true. I can still go skydiving. The whole point of the matter is that when we are debating the gambling, there are so many people on so many sides who come out as though that they are the high ground. They're the moral high ground. They're the ethical high ground. It's not about high ground. This is about dealing with what is. It's like saying we don't need to worry about speed limits when everyone's on a horse. Well, now that there's cars, I guess we should think about speed limits. It doesn't mean we go backwards and get rid of cars. It means we deal with the fact that there are cars and then put in speed limits. That's the same thing we're going to do here on the gambling side. Why do you do it? It makes perfect sense. Think about it. Say it with me. It's the end of hour 2. It's just business. We'll be back tomorrow. This is nothing personal.